Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christy, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy. Oh, my goodness. Are you in for a treat today? I have Mark Goodman with me here today, and we are about to get a crash course in forgiveness. And I'm so excited about that. But before we jump into all of that, if you're not already following the podcast, please do. We're 44 episodes strong and growing like crazy, and we want to make sure you don't miss a thing. So make sure you hit that subscribe button or follow, and it will make a big, big difference because I get to talk to brilliant people like Mark who are changing the world one person at a time. And so I want to introduce you to this fabulous man. He is the executive director for 70 times 7, A Path to Forgiveness. He's an author. He's a father to 6 girls. He's a grandfather to 13 kiddos. He's also an abuse survivor who has become a forgiveness expert. And in my opinion, that is something all of us need a little bit more of, is that ability to forgive for real. So Mark, welcome to Productive Joy.
Oh, thank you. It's so good to be with you.
This is going to be a lot of fun. So here's the thing that I know to be true is people are finicky and they don't necessarily choose to tune in unless there is something really exciting that happens right at the beginning. So you have a very short window to convince people that they want to hear what you have to say. What would you tell them if you knew you only had a minute or so to convince them?
No gift of joy and freedom is more misunderstood forgiveness. If you just stick in here for a little bit, I think we'll open up your eyes to a little bit about the freedom that's available in forgiveness.
I'm so excited. I really am. And so, Mark, I had a chance to kind of learn a little bit more about you. And I know that everybody here is going to be intrigued, not just by your story, but where you chose to take all of the experiences that you had and what you chose to do with them. So why don't you give us a little bit of background about who you are and what brought you to the point where you recognized that forgiveness was really the key to happiness in life?
Sure, a lot of that comes from pain into purpose, like so many people. And just the brief outline of it is, as a teenager, I lived homeless on the streets and beaches of Los Angeles. Now, Christy, as strange as it may sound, I actually have good memories of it.
Wow.
Because it was a step up. It was better. It was safer than what I grew up in Detroit. Now, Detroit in the 70s was not exactly a wonderful place. It was kind of like Newark without the glitter. It was not a good place, but it wasn't about that. It was about what was going on in our own house from a father who is angry, grew up in an abusive household, and had issues himself. And my father was abusive. And when I say abusive, he used to beat my older brothers till they were virtually unconscious.
Oh my goodness.
And my bedroom door had bumper stickers, not for decorations, but to hide the holes in it for when different family members had come at with a bat or a knife or such. So yeah, it was a dangerous place. But Christy, it didn't stop there. My dad sexually abused his own boys.
Oh my goodness.
Now, a lot of people realize that 1 out of 4 women have been sexually abused, but a lot of people don't know that 1 out of 6 men have and don't talk about it other than the guy you're talking to right now that's willing to own up to because of the shame. And so, yeah, LA was great. It was awesome. It was safer. It was, and besides the dumpster behind the grocery store in Malibu, the stuff they threw away, mwah, I ate like a king. Okay.
Wow.
I ate like a king.
Great perspective, right?
Absolutely. So the point being is that we carry around, so many of us carry around this, like to call it a backpack of pain, shame, blame, anger, resentment. Do you know what happened to me? Right? And that attitude that it's somehow or another, there needs to be right. There needs to be justice done. I can't forgive them until. And so it did with my brothers. And my brothers, almost like a modern day parable, handled it 4 different ways, much in the way that we handle it.
Yeah.
The oldest one held on to that anger and that resentment. And Christy, the thing is a lot of times we hold on to that anger and resentment. We think it's just about us. We don't realize the pain that we cause those around us, not just coworkers, but often the very ones we love the most.
Right.
He passed away a few years ago, holding on to that anger and resentment he would not let go. My other brother lives in a apartment down in St. Pete, Florida. He put up walls of protection. I can't be hurt again if I don't allow anybody in. And he literally has nobody in his life except for me. He's schizophrenic now. He's got imaginary friends, and I'm his only access to the outside world. And then my middle brother, the one who led me to the Lord, taught me business, was my best friend, some years ago called me, and while on the phone call, took his own life.
Oh my goodness, Mark. I don't, I, First of all, thank you for being brave enough to tell people your story. I know that that's what you have now turned into a career, is not hiding what happened to you and living in shame, but recognizing that what happened to you is happening to others. Maybe not in the same exact story, right? No, everybody has their own story, but people are faced with really hard things. And you have chosen to take those really hard things and turn them into success and power over the pain and forgiveness. And so I'm just so grateful that there are people like you, and that people like you are choosing to share with people like all of us how to do that. And we're going to get into that in just a second. But here's what I heard that I think is important. You said that the four of you all handled this pain differently, that your first brother held on to that anger. Your second brother built walls and was just in denial. Your third brother looked good on the outside, but was really hurting on the inside. And then you have made it your life's mission to educate others. Do you think those are the four ways that people deal with pain? And are there others? Or I'm sure you're going to walk us through how to create forgiveness in all four of those spaces.
Sure. I love the fact that you said that you're grateful for my doing this. Trust me, there's nobody more grateful you will ever meet than Mark Goodman, um, because of what I've been through and how I see things, I smell things, I taste things that you don't see, smell, or taste. And so, yeah, it is tough to walk through that. We have every reason to hold on to it. And for your listeners that are listening, I don't know what happened to you. It's different. A boss fired you for no good reason. A partner ripped you off. A spouse betrayed you. There's no limit to the amounts of hurts. But when somebody hurts, we react to it. And sometimes we react in revenge.
Yeah.
Sometimes we react in just holding on to it. And I'm just going to bear and grin it, right? I'm just going to not let this go. Put up walls. There's all sorts of different ways. Forgiveness is just one of them. And so here I am, that fourth way is the freedom. And so that's what I always love to offer up. We're not wired, Christy, to want to forgive. We're just not wired that way.
Right.
You got to be kidding me. Do you know what they did to him? You want me? What? They don't deserve it. And you're right. They don't. But you do. And so we're wired for freedom. And so that's the carrot I love to hold up. Would you like some freedom? I get it. You got every reason to carry around that backpack. But are your shoulders getting tired? Is enough enough? And you just want to know what that joy and that freedom feels like on a day-by-day basis? Are you tired of wearing the mask? Wake up in the morning, put on the mask, everything is okay, and how exhausting that can be of self-worth and a worthlessness, and then putting that mask down and then exhaustion from it. There's hope. There's inspiration, and that hope and inspiration is found in the freedom found in forgiveness.
Well, in your company, thank you again. Your company is called 70 times 7, and I happen to know that that's a biblical reference for the number of times that we are supposed to forgive. I think to modern society would say you're out of your ever-loving mind, right? Like there is no way you can do it to me once, do it to me once, shame on me, or shame on you, do it to me twice, shame on me. And yet you're teaching that biblical concept of, no, actually, you should forgive every time, right? That's essentially what that means.
Yeah, and just to clarify, religion does not own forgiveness, okay?
No, definitely not.
I'm not in the evangelism business. I deal with atheists, Muslims, Jewish, you name it. Last week I did a corporate gig. So yes, there's a little bit of code inside of there because the majority of my funders come from the Christian community. But really is this misunderstanding, and often even in the church. Here's one for you. That forgiveness is an exchange. That's the biggest. We were taught when you were little, go tell your sister or brother you're sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I forgive you. There was an exchange there. And were you really sorry? And were did they really forgive you? And so that's where the biggest misunderstanding is. Forgiveness is one side of a two-sided transaction.
That's true.
Now, reconciliation takes both sides. Now, that's where religion does have it right, that it's reconciliation with God. And there's not an exchange for forgiveness, it's a reconciliation, two sides. And reconciliation is so much tougher. It takes both sides. So let me share this with you as an example in my story. My dad at age 65 sobered up,
Uh,
turned his life over to God, became a completely different person, one of the most wonderful, loving guys you ever met. And the last 23 years of his life, that same monster that should have gone to jail turned into the most wonderful, godly, awesome man you've ever met. And his story is part of this, that you're never too old. You've never done too much bad to find redemption, grace, forgiveness. And we did reconcile, and we had a wonderful time together.
that's amazing. That's amazing. And I really appreciated what you just said, that forgiveness is one side of a two-sided situation. The reconciliation is two. And I think there's power in knowing that I'm forgiving you for me, not necessarily for you, right? Like I need to forgive you for fill in the blank. And I did have an experience like that when I was in college. I won't be specific because I don't want to hurt feelings. And yet I chose to forgive in a space where the person didn't even recognize that he needed to be forgiven. And that part hurt until I realized that I wasn't doing it for him. And so is that part of what you teach in
Absolutely.
the power of that?
Who benefited? I'm going to ask you, who benefited from that? Did he benefit?
Heck no.
No.
He was watching a basketball game. He wasn't paying attention.
He could care less. And if you think about it, is that whole concept that my forgiveness is subject to something, an apology, that they're going to jail, they're making it right, they're evening the scales of justice. If you think about how silly this is, I'm going to put it in these terms. What I'm saying is this, is the keys to my joy, to my freedom, I'm going to hand them to the very person who hurt me and saying, I can't have joy until you, whatever your thing is, fill in the blank. How silly is it when you think about it? Or you can say, hey, bud, I want those keys back. My forgiveness is subject to, here's the big kicker, nothing, absolutely nothing from you.
Yeah.
And there comes the freedom. And there's the biggest misunderstanding. If you're waiting to forgive somebody subject to anything, but Mark, no, if only they, no, anything along those lines. As soon as there's anything after that, you got it wrong. But if you can ever get to the point, my forgiveness is subject to nothing, there lies the power in your hands for joy and free,
My forgiveness is subject to nothing. Wow.
nothing.
Those are powerful words for sure. And I think everybody who's listening right now needs to hear that, right? That your forgiveness isn't conditional in there's not an extra sentence tacked on to the end. It's about what you're choosing to do, right? We get to decide. I use the phrase often that there's a big difference between our sphere of control and our sphere of influence, right? So our sphere of control is this tiny little hole right here if you're watching. And our sphere of influence, as I knock things down, is as big as you can make it. And that's what I'm hearing you say, is that forgiveness is our sphere of influence. It is infinite and it can be given at any point because we are in control of ourselves. It's really the one thing that we can control, right? We do have a little bit of control over ourselves. We have influence over lots of other things. So I just appreciate that you're calling it what it is and that you're teaching people how to recognize, number one, that they're giving the keys to the wrong person, and two, how to get those keys back and recognize that it's our own piece to that puzzle. That's really powerful. So I'm going to take us in a slightly different direction because I am going to be fascinated by your answer. I have no doubt. Every time I have a guest on this show, I ask them what their definition of productive joy is. So I'm dying of curiosity, Mark. What is your definition of productive joy?
It is so much as a day in, day out basis of this power in forgiveness. It's kind of like exercising. I don't reach in to go to the gym and immediately pick up those 80-pound curls, right? And then I get frustrated because I'm not a weightlifter. No, of course you're not. It's an everyday lifting, and next thing you know, those 20 pounds and this 30 pounds, and one day all of a sudden you found 80 pounds curls. So my productive joy is just on a daily basis of I've exercised those muscles so much that if you cut in front of me on the road, I don't know what's going on in your life. Something is happening there. People say bad things to me, and what? It's like holding a wounded animal. We don't get upset if it nips at us. Well, we don't know what's going on in other people's lives. And so my productive joy is on a daily, regular basis. And so often people wonder, it's like, Mark, why do you have so much joy, so much gratitude on an everyday, daily basis? Well, one, I exercise it. And second is, because of what I went through, I think I have a better right to be joyful. If it rains 6 days in a row, all of a sudden the sun comes out, don't you appreciate it more?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do. And likewise is with that. I appreciate life a whole lot more because of what I went through, literally to the point where I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the pain that I went through that got me to where I'm at today.
You are inspirational because I know a lot of people have been hurt and have dealt with some really heavy things, but you made a choice and you said, you know what? That's not going to be what defines me. What's going to define me is how I rose from the ashes like a phoenix, right? You said, okay, my brothers didn't choose to go this route, but I am choosing to be better, to choose better, to find the things that I'm supposed to have. And so I'm just really I'm impressed. I'm impressed that you are choosing to share it with others. So I am curious, is there a formula for forgiveness? What I've heard so far is that it is a one-sided transaction, that I have to decide it, that it is up to me and I'm holding the keys. But is there some sort of formula that you could walk us through that says, here's step 1, 2, 3? I know that's oversimplifying something pretty massive, but how if I want to forgive somebody for something I've been carrying around for years, what's step 1?
Well, I've got good news and bad news. I've got the first couple steps for you, and then it drops off the cliff. Okay.
Okay.
So the first news is deciding, you know what, enough is enough. I just want it. I want it bad, and I want that. I want to be filled with joy, right? And I think of it almost like a dog took a big bite out of my arm, right? I got every right to be pissed off at that dog. You think I'm going to be? Yeah, you better bet I am. But then I do nothing with it. And that open wound is going to do what? Cause an infection. And it's likewise, the wound of unforgiveness will affect and infect everything in your life. So the biggest part is just deciding is enough. I don't know where this is going, but I want that joy so much I'm willing to take it, right?
Yeah.
And make a decision for it. Here's the bad news. I wish I could write a book. Here are the 6 steps to forgiveness. It'd be a bunch of BS, okay? Because your steps and my steps and this person listening, they're all different. And there's a science of forgiveness. There's actually thousands of studies that back this up. And so it's based on levels of agreeableness, neuroticism, self-worth, religion, what happened, age, sex. There's so many factors involved in it. So there's all these different paths. And so what we're doing is I've spent the last 8 years doing one-on-one forgiveness coaching and helping with thousands of successes, not just lives changed, but literally lives saved from suicide.
Sure.
So what we're doing is we're building a platform and an app. It's going to take about 18 months to complete. So you may go down path 12, and they're going to go down past 7. They're going to go down past 42, but it's all different paths. All I can do at this point right now is provide hope and inspiration. I don't know what happened, but I'm telling you, there's joy and there's freedom available to you. And it's starting off there. And if any of your listeners, I suggest a great path is the book, right? Forgiving a Good Man. I give a lot of tips and my path. Go to the website at 70x7.org. That's 70x7.org. And if really, really gets stuck, reach out to me. And I'd be more than happy to, not a long-term, but short-term, because I work with a lot of people. And I've never charged for it in 8 years.
Wow. Wow. So You're just going to impress me in the fact that you're giving this to people, and I know that you have something big that's coming soon that, is going to allow the whole world to hear your story. Do you wanna tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. In addition to the book, we're in the process of already started filming a documentary that goes along with it that tells the real story. But even more exciting, we're in the process of turning this crazy story, this story of mine that most of my life I wore a mask and didn't want to share with anybody, to turn into a feature film that'll be in theaters all across the United States and, Lord willing, across the world. So we can provide hope and inspiration for a large number of people on the path to freedom, freedom found in forgiveness, and ultimately drive them to the platform that will hold their hands and walk them through whichever path is best for them.
Well, I appreciate the fact that it's not one size fits all because the wound wasn't one size fits all either.
Right.
And so my way of forgiving needs to look different than someone who was hurt in a different way. And yet there is not a person listening right now who hasn't had something happen to them that required forgiveness. And maybe they've given it and maybe they haven't. But what I heard you say is no matter what path, step one is to want to forgive. So, my encouragement to all the listeners today is to recognize that you are in complete control of step one. And then now you have a really fabulous resource that we'll link in all the show notes that will take you to steps two and beyond via app soon in about 18 months, but also through a conversation if Mark is available to have some short term conversations with you about forgiveness. Goodness, is that powerful? Thank you for doing that. But we're not done yet because we have some rapid fire questions that we
Right.
absolutely have to ask. It would be just way too sad if I didn't get to hear these answers. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm
Okay.
ready. I'm
Okay.
ready. I'm ready. I don't know
All right.
where you're going with this, but I'm ready.
Okay. I know it's high pressure, high pressure. Question number one. What is your definition of fun?
Well, fun is sharing with others. My love language is serving others. So it's strange to me. Fun is cooking a 7-course gourmet dinner. It's taking people out and doing for others. But most importantly is seeing people's lives change. I get so much thrill, so much fun out of seeing lives changed.
Love it. Love it. Great answer. Okay. So, Mark, how do you know that you're showing up as your authentic self?
Oh my goodness. I'm authentic to a fault now. I'm about as transparent. You can ask me any question. I just tell it like it is, whether it's a one-on-one or in a group of 1,000 people standing in front of a room speaking. Because so much of it, but transparency breeds transparency. And I wore that mask for so long that I don't ever want to put that back on. So I go out of my way to be transparent, is good, bad, and otherwise, because I finally learned to like Mark.
Ah, I think we all need to learn to like ourselves a little bit more, don't we?
Uh,
We're so much kinder to strangers than we are to ourselves and to the people we love. It's really interesting how we do that. So I think that's good advice. All right. How do you channel your best self on your worst days?
Oh, it is a gratitude. I still have them go back. I have scars. Look, I'm not going to kid you. Like somehow or another, it's football. I scored a touchdown. I made it, and everything is okay. Some days, even the scars hurt, and so they come back. And I find myself that stinking thinking come back, and then immediately, Mark, recognize it for what it is, and what am I grateful for? And so immediately switch into gratitude mode to get me out of that. That's my that's my best secret weapon is gratitude.
Do you actually write things down? Do you just meditate on it? Like what is your gratitude practice?
Meditate, meditate. Think about the fact of, yeah, I've a beautiful wife, 6 daughters. As of a couple days ago, it was 5 daughters. So on Monday, my very same brother that took his own life, I took over being like dad for his daughter. And so she's had 5 children, beautiful children. We call them our grandkids. Well, on Monday, we made it official. We were in the courtroom, and my wife and I adopted a girl who happens to be 45 years old.
Oh,
And we adopted her. We no longer have 6 girls. Now I can say we have 6 daughters, because I don't have to do code for girls anymore. We have 6 daughters. I have a lot to be grateful for.
Oh, that's what a beautiful story. And that's, you know what, that's special. Congratulations. That is pretty exciting. And wait,
Oh,
does that take the total of grandchildren from 13 to 18, or were they counted in that number
we
already?
counted them in that because, but they're truly inside the circle, not sitting outside of here.
They're
So we truly
official.
have 13 grandchildren right now that we formally adopted her.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Oh,
Congratulations.
very
All right.
beautiful.
Last but not least, you have dropped so many beautiful reminders and nuggets of wisdom. But people have a short attention span, and chances are good they're really only going to remember the one thing that you call out right now. So, if people could only remember one thing from what you said today, what was the one thing that you really want them to hear?
That backpack of yours, I get it. I get it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's sitting inside of there. And maybe small, maybe big, maybe really big. But I get it. You got every right to carry that around. I will not deny that. I won't take it away from you. But are you getting tired? Is enough? And are you been waiting? You've been holding on to this and waiting for whatever it is. Well, you don't have to wait anymore. You're empowered now. Christy and Mark just empowered you, okay? To say, I have the choice. I don't have to carry that around another day. That's what I would love them to know, realize, and feel.
Well, you're making me feel it. So I know that people will feel it as well. Thank you so much, Mark, for not choosing to keep your light under a bushel, that you are sharing it with the world and you're letting people know that, yeah, life handed you a pretty bad hand. And yet you have found the power of forgiveness and you are choosing actively to not keep that to yourself, but to share that with others. So thank you so, so much for being willing, being a vessel, being the kind of person that draws others in and lets them know, you know what, it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to hold on to this bitterness because it's only hurting you.
You
So
got it.
you're pretty incredible, sir. Thank you so, so much. And for all of our listeners, thank you for being with us on Productive Joy today. You were in for a treat. You always are. I am so grateful that I have this platform and this opportunity to do this. And as you know, my number one goal as you spend time with us is that you figure out a way to turn fun into action.